Get your analytic brains ready to crack some codes. This is our review of Turing Machine.
Turing Machine is a deduction game where players use a type of analog computer to figure out a 3-digit code. And I think this is one of my new favorite games.
I wasn't super excited about this game when I first saw it. However, now that we've played it, it might be one of my new favorite games as well. I'll tell you all about it after this quick how to play. During each game of Turing Machine, players will try to figure out a 3-digit code, or problem. They will use criteria cards and verification cards.
Each problem will give you the exact number of verification and criteria cards to match up.
During each round, players will use their criteria and verification cards to test their proposed solution for the code.
Players will form their proposed code with the punch cards and line them up with the verification cards that correspond to a criteria card that they want information from.
The verification cards will give an X or a check mark depending on if the answer is correct or not.
Players continue working through the problems until a player has figured out the exact code and checks it in either the answer book or the website. When we were at Origins, Danny from Hachette was showing us the game and everything, and I was intrigued just because I had just recently watched Imitation Game, so I was like, oh, okay, Turing, Alan Turing, oh, cool, yeah. You know, codes and stuff. This is gonna be really cool, like breaking the Enigma code. Although that is another game, I think.
When you first look at this game, it's kind of a mind bender kind of a thing, because you're looking at it going, I don't get it. And then when someone's explaining to you, you're like, okay, I'm figuring out a 3-digit code and I put the numbers together. What am I asking? What am I doing? It's a little difficult to understand exactly what's going on, but once it clicks, it clicks. The thing that you have to keep in mind is that when you put your code together, you're asking a question, and the different criteria cards are going to give you an answer, but they will only give you one answer. So if the criteria card have a couple different possibilities, you have to think about how you're going to ask the question so that you get a yes or no answer. Because if you ask a question that could be open-ended, you don't know if your check or your X makes sense, because which question are you asking? So that's part of the difficulty of this game, is figuring out exactly how you're going to narrow down your options on the criteria card to figure out the number for the 3-digit code.
I think it's very creative and ingenious how they did it, right? Because it starts you off slow or pretty easy with the first question. So it'll be like, okay, is this number greater or less than 4? And then you ask the question. If it's a check mark, then you're like, oh, okay, this is the answer. Let's just say it's less than 4. Now I know the answer is either 3, 2, or 1. So, but that doesn't mean that the number on my card is correct if I got a check mark. It just means like, okay, now it's one of these 3, so you narrow it down. I think that was the biggest thing. The people we've played with too, even me, I was just like, okay, hold on. So you're saying that's not the answer, but I got check mark. I was like, yes and no.
The only time you'll ever know the number is if the criteria card says yellow equals 4, or blue equals 4, or purple equals 4, and you get a check mark when you write 4 on it, then you know that the answer is 4. Other than that, it's never telling you what the number is. It's only giving you information so you can deduce what the number is.
It's kind of like one of those games where it's like, oh, well, Bill is older than Kelly, but Kelly is half the age of Sally, and Sally is, so you got to kind of go through and just eliminate the option. Like, okay, hold on, so who's the oldest? It's kind of like that, but each question you ask, you're like, okay, it's not this, so okay.
800 SAT math score is what you need for this game. One of the ways that I try to explain it to people when I'm not showing them directly and I'm just explaining what the game is, I say, well, do you like Sudoku? Or do you like Wordle? Like daily puzzle games, things to figure out, crossword puzzles, those types of things. Because while it's not exactly that, it's the same kind of thing. If you enjoy those types of things, then you will enjoy this game. And another game that it's like, that someone pointed out to us, is like Clue, because it is a deduction game. Instead of going to the different rooms and figuring out, okay, well, who murdered who in this room, or was it this room, or what weapon, and you're asking, and the other people are giving you X's to cross off whether you're correct or not. The criteria cards are doing that. So it's kind of a combination. So I've started calling it SudoClue for people that want to, when you're trying to explain this game, it's because it's like a daily puzzle or something like that, but it's kind of like Clue where you're figuring out the answer. It's a combination of those. So that's the best way that I could describe this to someone who's not looking at it directly.
Patent pending.
Patent pending.
Once I got it, I think the best way that I tried to explain it to everyone was, it's kind of like Excel. Like you put in a formula, it'll say, you know, B is greater than 4 or something like that. And then maybe you'll get an error. But just going through that where you have to do different formulas in Excel, that's how I kind of thought of this. I'm like, okay, if this is greater than this, then, you know, return this. That's kind of how I saw this playing out in my head. And it made more sense to me like that.
The game comes with 20 problems to solve in the rule book that you can go through. Some of them are easy, some of them are medium, and some of them are expert or hard or difficult. But then online, they say there's 7 million plus, something like that. So you go on the website and you say, okay, I want a hard puzzle with this many criteria cards, and I want it to do with this style. And then it formulates and it finds the puzzle for you, and then you do that puzzle. And then when you have a guess, you type it in, and if it's correct, it'll say correct. And if it's not, it'll say not correct. And then the other people can keep going, and it doesn't reveal the answer like the rule book does when you look in the rule book.
So as you might imagine, you're asking questions, so it does come with a notepad with its own little template sheet. And most of the time when we have to write on things, my opinion is always like, I don't know, we're never really gonna go through all that. However, this game, I think we will. I think we'll play it a lot. So now the next question is, how do we get more of those?
On the website, they have a thing
We
that you
just
can
print it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
The box recommends 14 and up, but I think that's just because it is solving problems and stuff. But I think that if you have really educated, really smart kids, that kids could really get into this. If your kids are doing Sudokus or doing Wordles or doing the crossword puzzles, those types of things, they'll like this game. There's nothing inappropriate or bad about it. I don't even think there's too many choking hazards. There might be some small choking hazards, but really it's just, if your kids like math and puzzle games, then they're gonna like this game.
Overall, like I said at the top, this is probably going to be one of my new favorite games. I like the production value. You've got, the box is cool. You got the little punch out cards, making an analog computer. The evergreen mechanic of how you have like 7 million combinations and you can just keep playing and playing and it keeps it interesting. I really enjoy that. So I'm going to give it a 10.
Overall, I really like this game. It can be addictive in that crossword, Sudoku, Wordle, getting addicted to it and playing it every day kind of a thing. There is a way to play it solo mode too, so even if you can't get enough people to play it with you every day, if you have the game, you could play it every day if you wanted to. So I really like that aspect of it, where it's something that you really want to play. You wake up and you're like, I really want to play Turing Machine today. So overall, I'm going to give this game a 9. And that was our review of Turing Machine.
What'd you think? Are you ready to put your code cracking skills to the test? Let us know in the comments below.
And if you're enjoying our content, please like this video and subscribe to our channel.
Until next time, I'm Lee.
I'm Kenny, and go party like a board gamer.